ready for another Stormageddon, although they don't really specify how much, but it could be up to 12 inches over Sunday to Monday. I'm obviously excited because we're going to go skiing. So that would be a good for that. So I have one quick update, and one reason is I wanted to spend more time on questions, and I want to make sure we finish a little bit earlier to give Nyle a little extra time, knowing that her stuff is so important. So, and by the way, I'm so excited that we have such a wonderful speakers today. And yeah, so my quick update, everybody's asking me about the tests. You're probably all inundated, especially those of you who have kids or grandkids, and especially with schools now requiring tests. So I'm growing persistently more and more frustrated about this whole situation because tests are crap. They're horrible. The rapid tests have almost no validity whatsoever. They are never been designed to be testing asymptomatic patients. Their false positive and false negative rates is so high that they basically render almost completely useless. It's waste of effort for most part. I'm gonna show you a study that's just got published. We already knew this, but this is just confirms more as to what I'm saying. I'm putting it in the chat. So basically what it says that the negative test does not mean you're not contagious, and then there's a plenty of false positive tests. So basically what that means is this: when you have a test and you're taking someone with a certain probability of the infection, and you're having a test that's not very good, what comes after the test, your post-test probability only getting worse, meaning you can no longer have any judgment as to what to do with a given clinical situation. In cases like this, generally speaking, it is a strong recommendation not to run the tests. So why am I telling you all this? Well, because a lot of people telling me I can go and get this free test from the library. Now it's all three states have that: Montgomery, Maryland, DC, and Virginia. The issue is if you're asymptomatic, please do not get them, do not use them. As I said, they're completely, utterly useless. Their only use is when you are starting to have symptoms, then it's appropriate. The problem though, even when you're symptomatic, they still have a significantly high false negative rate, in contrast to the standard PCR tests. So please use the link. That's my only update for today. I decided, because there's a lot of stuff going on, but to me that felt critical because I felt very upset when we were told by my kids' school that they now have to be tested. And multiple times throughout the week, they're distributing the kids. It's a self-honor system, so we're supposed to report it back if it's positive, but I'm questioning the whole system, basically saying I don't see any value in this until kids get symptoms. Okay. All right. Let's do questions. Okay, so fourth shot is very unclear. You may have heard what's going on in Israel. They start giving fourth shots and they're having a crazy spike. It appears that the shots do not really work at this point as much as we were told after a third shot. It's very unclear whether or not the fourth shot per se is going to have any additional protection against severity of illness. I would say it's totally premature at this point to even bring this up, especially with the current most recent data suggesting that it doesn't really it doesn't really changes the course of pandemic. So it becomes less and less clear as to what to do here. Chances are, this is my prediction, again, don't hold me if it ends up being wrong, that we're only going to start giving fourth shots to very high risk population. And again, stay tuned what that means. And this is also the hints that I'm starting to get from some of the experts in the topic. But it's it's in a way, Israel is taking kind of a leap of faith, becoming a kind of a test ground for the pandemic, for the world. And I appreciate them for that, honestly, because we have a good word for that. It's pupsa. literally meaning like it takes a certain amount of guts to do this, being first. So unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be as protective as we used to think. I'm also hearing increased amount of voices telling not to boost kids. So stay tuned for that. I just saw an interview with the head of the pediatrics from Children's Hospital in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, saying no boosters for kids. Too many risks of too much high risk of side effects in contrast to a tiny increase in protection over the basic level of vaccination. Okay, next question. Okay, there's a lot of personal questions. Sorry, I need to skip that for a second. Yeah. So GW providing a lot of treatment. Julie, you may want to clarify exactly what you're looking for with this question.
More like treatments using the monoclonal antibodies or the Demisphere, the new.
All right. Yeah, so let me address that because it's very sad answer to this. There is no monoclonal antibodies that work. The only one that works is a GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, and the whole DC has gotten only 100 doses for the entire.
Okay.
So there basically nobody have any sense as to when we're going to get more.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I don't have a better answer. Do not send your patients for Regeneron. Regeneron, it doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Data is very clear that they're not effective. And it's not very clear what the efficacy of GSK actually is. It claimed to be effective, but what is that actual percent improvement or percent decrease in risk of hospitalization is not very clear. By the way, I'm surprised nobody asked, but I'll say it anyway. The data that I said last week still holds true. It's at least 10 times less severe illness in contrast to the Delta, meaning that we have very few hospital admissions at the moment and very low mortality. Again, hopefully it will not mutate again to get more severe, but for now we're seemingly holding good, even though a lot of people getting sick. So next is wear mask outside. Okay. Yeah, so here's my recommendation. If you're in any proximity to anybody who is not in your circle, yes, please do so. That also goes to the fact that what do we now do with the dining outside? Use your judgment. It's pretty contagious virus, meaning that if you're in a restaurant that's 6 feet or whatever they have in a restaurant, it's not going to work. And it's basically you're taking a risk picking the COVID. If you're fully vaccinated, the risk of you getting really sick, as you hear, pretty low. But you're making your own decision there. So yeah. So yeah, Benita, I do not believe so. I don't think that the boosters drop out after 10 weeks. I just don't think them being as effective as we were originally told. Some of the data that we were using is still Delta-based, where it appeared to be quite protective. It doesn't seem to be very protective, the boosters, from just getting the illness. It's just everybody is getting mild illness. Your personal experience probably supports what I'm saying. You all, I'm sure, have seen friends and relatives getting sick and quickly recovering, even those who have been completely boosted up to what's most recommended. So yeah, so Cecile, I understand your question. It's a very good logic. Unfortunately, we don't have science to support or disprove your statement at the moment. I'm guessing that we will not see a science in the next couple of weeks. It'll probably be more like a month or two before we have an actual US answers. Also, it's essential to understand that virus continuously mutates rapidly. And so it's not very clear whether or not the data in US is going to be the same data as in Israel, because the mutations may even be somewhat different. So bottom line here is we want to have answers, but we won't have them in real time. So we'll have to hang on and sort of be okay with some level of uncertainty. Yeah, sure. N95, playing tennis, sure, of course. People often say that it's very hard to exercise with N95s. I would agree with that. It is especially very hard when you're doing some kind of a very strong, strenuous aerobic activity. Tennis may be better because it's a short burst of running, but if you're truly doing a cardio, you should try. And if you can't, great. But a lot of people, unfortunately, just feel suffocating, and you have to make your judgment. I don't think that it's really a risky. I have not heard of truly major complications out there. It's just that you may really feel unable to do so. And if that's the case, then just use your regular mask. Oh, that's a great question, Liz. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm not handling this well. I got depressed last week. I don't know if any of you saw some of my posts on the YouTube, and then I put it on Facebook. It's tough. I think it's getting to all of us. And, there are moments where I feel like, what's all this is about? I mean, we're doing everything and we're not going anywhere. It just keeps getting in waves worse and worse. So I don't know. I think it's just handling it day by day. I think realizing that we are doing what we can and staying in our locus of control, that's important, I think, is not trying to get upset over things that are beyond your level of control and just trying to act on things you truly can act on. And really centering more and listening to Nina's advice and following what she's going to teach us. I'm serious. I think I've personally deepened my practices. I have been doing on Thursday evenings, has been on kind of more advanced practitioner group meeting, doing my own practices every week. So I don't want to tell you more because I think individually each person has to make their own decision. I do know that I think I've been under exercising, and I'm sort of committing to try to exercise more, because for me that's always makes me feel a lot better. But you know what makes you feel better. It shouldn't be what makes me feel better. We're all individuals. So with that, we're right at 15 minutes. I'm sorry if I talked a little too long. I don't want to take any more time from our wonderful speaker. Hi, Nyle. So, and I'll pass it right on to her.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here. GW Integrative Medicine is it feels like a second home to me. I feel like the practitioners really get what I do, and that means a lot to me because I know what I do is very outside of the box. So my name is Nyle. My pronouns are they, them. I'm an occupational therapist, and I specialize in something called fascia. So raise your hand if you've heard of fascia before, and you can raise an electronic hand if you'd like. Yes, yes. Oh, hi, I see some of my friends on here. Hi, hi, hi. All right. So I'm hoping maybe I can also help with that social emotional question about how do you handle the uncertainties. That was a really beautiful question, by the way. If you take nothing else out of what I'm about to say, this is probably the most critical thing of my talk today, which is lack of flow in the body leads to stagnation in the body, which leads to illness in the body. And then emotion goes to the place of greatest stagnation / restriction in the body. So what do you do about all of that? You go back to where there is lack of flow. And when I say lack of flow, I'm really talking about lack of flow in the body, starting with the body. I think there are, ways to create flow in your daily life. Movement is flow, breath is flow, meditation is flow. But what about our physical bodies? I think a lot of times we forget that our physical bodies need flow too, and we don't necessarily know how to go about that. So what if instead of focusing on our symptoms in our body, we focused on where is there tightness or where is there restriction in the body? And if we started from that point, we would be focusing on where there's stagnation and lack of flow. So a lot of our medicine is very symptom-based. We come to a practitioner or a specialist with a set of symptoms. That's what cues us to go there. And then the doctor works with those symptoms to kind of trace it back and figure out where things are coming from in the body. What if instead of focusing on those symptoms, we focused on where we're not experiencing flow? So that's what I want to work with everyone on today. The way that I approach this idea of lack of flow in the body is by using a kind of a systems approach that has 4 parts to it. The first part is I teach my people how to assess their own physical bodies. So assessing where is their flow, where is there not flow, where is the lack of flow or stagnation connecting in the body, and kind of tracing it back that way. So that's an assessment tool. And I was actually thinking it might be nice if today I could teach you all some basic assessment tools so you can start to really connect with this idea of where is there flow, where is there not flow in the body. The second step that I teach after we kind of learn how to assess our bodies and really like see what's going on in there. And I should also say, when we assess our bodies, we are kind of doing the second step that I'm going to tell you about now. And the second step is connect. So once we assess the body and determine where is there lack of flow, then we can go in and connect with that part of the body where there's lack of flow. And through specific treatment techniques that I teach my patients and clients, we're able to release those restrictions in the body and create flow again. The third step is, okay, you've assessed, you've connected with the restrictions or the lack of flow, you're getting flow back in the body again. How does that translate to function? And that's the third step, which is explore. So we use basic movements that I teach, but also just stuff that you may already be doing. Like, think about what types of movement you currently have in your daily life. So if you have some examples, I'd love to hear in the chat. What are some things you do in your daily life right now to bring movement into your body? I can almost bet the first one's going to be yoga. So yoga, Tai Chi, walking. Walking is a really great one because it's functional. Stretching. Good. So I hope there's so good. Dancing. Thank you, Luann. So please tell me there's more. Yes, climbing stairs. Good. I'm glad you mentioned something functional. Running. Good for you. More power to you, Julie. Pacing. Excellent. Yeah, keep the ideas coming just so that we can hold ourselves accountable. We can hold ourselves accountable to creating movement in our day. Playing with my dog. Good. I love hearing the functional ones. As an occupational therapist, I like to find how can my occupation, the things I occupy my time with, be therapeutic. Good. Qigong is a beautiful one. Walking, calisthenics, dance, excellent. Body weight strengthening training, good. So all of these things you're already doing, and you saw something as simple as walking upstairs counts as movement. All of these things you're already doing are opportunities to explore the changes that are created in your body after you release the restrictions. Now, I'm not going to talk to you today about how to do that. I'm only going to talk to you today about the first step because this is kind of an introduction to my work. However, I'd like to give an invitation to this group to attend a pain relief clinic that I'm teaching in March. Now, I taught the first one this past summer, fall. I think it was September, the beginning of September. I'm going to be teaching another one in March. It's the first weekend of March, and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from 12 to 2, and it's all going to be recorded, so if you can't attend live, you can get the recordings. Registration is donation-based, and the donations go to fund my health equity scholarships so that people can access my work. I offer this because I think the work that I do and people who do what I do, the work we do is so critical to setting a foundation for health because it does address the underlying cause of what creates stagnation in the tissue than what creates illness and stagnation. So having the ability to offer this kind of like, this is like an introduction to these 4 steps, and having it be accessible is incredibly important to me. So if you're interested in kind of learning beyond the first step I'm going to teach you today, you want to learn how to connect and release. You want to learn not just how, it sounds like a lot of you are already exploring, but how can you take the movement you're doing and really break it down and ask key questions about how your body is responding to the movement you're doing. And then there's a 4th step, which is embodying. How do you embody these changes? I had a teacher recently say, how do you wear the changes? And I loved that because that's really like, how do you put them on and take them into your day, right? So all of that will be taught in this pain relief clinic. And I had a question about how to access it. You can go to my website, which is blueniletherapy.com. If someone's able to type it in the chat, that would be amazing. If not, maybe I can do it at the end. But it's spelled Nyle like my name. So blueniletherapy.com. Under the calendar page, the event for it's called the Radical Pain Relief Clinic is on there. So you can register. Like I said, it's donation-based. Donate what you can. All proceeds go to funding scholarships for people who can't access my courses at full price. And I do prioritize LGBTQIA and Black and Indigenous and people of color in those workshops so that we can create a foundation of equity in wellness. Thank you. Thank you, Luann. So now that that little commercial break is shared, I'd love to share with you what I can in the few minutes that I have here. When I talk about creating flow in the body, when you think about what's in your body, and I'd like to have everyone close their eyes and look away from the screen for a minute. Take a slow breath in, a slow breath out. Sit back over your pelvic floor, over your sits bones, and then just start to visualize the expansion and contraction of your breath. And start to visualize what organs move when you expand and contract your breath. You don't have to type it in. You don't need to do anything. Just use your primary senses to start to see, feel, hear, even know, connect with what are those organs in your body that are moving when you breathe. So each one of those organs, as you're feeling, seeing, visualizing, hearing, each one of those organs have something called motility to them, which is a subtle movement that each organ does. It flexes or extends, it expands, it contracts, it rotates. It's almost like a heartbeat. And it's a rhythm just like your breath unto each organ. What allows those organs to move and slide and glide along each other is something called fascia. And when it's specific to an organ, it's called viscera. Now, as a practitioner, I specialize in knowing what each one of those organs' movements should be. And if they're not moving, I can jumpstart that organ again. But what I teach in my workshops and classes is how people can do that in their own bodies, maybe not organ specific, but body specific. So I'm going to teach you a method for assessing where in your body there isn't flow, maybe where there's stagnation right now. And I'm going to do it specifically in relation to the abdomen. Why the abdomen? Well, first of all, you probably know why the abdomen, right? Raise your hand if you've been having any digestive issues over the past 2 years. Yeah. And I can tell you why. There was a moment in time that created a global trauma. We all held our collective breaths and flow stopped. Then stagnation in the tissue began to create. And because our breath wasn't massaging our organs, that stagnation then turned into illness. And now many of us have it just becomes a cyclical effect. Many of us have things like SIBO, small intestinal bacteria. At the very least, we have the motility of our organs have slowed down. So I'm going to show you a method that you can do. And I recommend right now doing this every single day. This is a method that allows you to assess where in the abdomen it's feeling stuck or stagnant. And just through assessment, we're going to begin to create flow and awareness. And then what you do with that from there, that's where you're going to need to attend my pain relief clinic because it's beyond the amount of time we have here. But at the very least, begin with this first step. So I sent a handout yesterday, and it's okay if it didn't get through, but there was a handout, Janet, that I emailed that has kind of a picture of this technique that I'm about to teach. And I'm wondering if that's accessible, and if not, no biggie.
It is. Give me a sec.
Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and instruct while Janet's looking for this handout. So this is something you can print out. Jennifer said, how about holding your breath from 2016 through 2020? Yeah, 4 years worth of holding your breath. Well, let's start with this, okay? The technique I'm going to teach you is an abdominal massage, and I'm going to show you here on the screen, and then we're all going to do it together. And I have this kind of moving thing. I'm just going to raise my shirt up. You're going to see my belly button, and I'm going to demonstrate it to you. And then Janet's going to give you a handout of this for you to do later. I'm going to demonstrate it first, and then I would love if you all could do it along with me after I show you. All right. So in order to do this, you're going to find your belly button. And then the way we're going to move is we're going to start from our belly button and go directly in our belly button, then out to the right of our belly button, then up, around to the left, around our belly button, and then we're slowly going to make it bigger and bigger and bigger as if we're doing a spiral out from our belly button and then all the way around. So that's the pattern of movement we're going to do. But what we're actually going to do with our fingertips is a manual therapy technique. We're going to take 2 fingers on the right hand and 2 fingers on the left hand, press in with enough firmness that it creates like an activation inside of your body. Beautiful. So there's the image there. That's the spiral shape that you're going to make, but you're still going to want to look up here at my fingers. So press in with enough firmness that you're creating an activation in your body. And I recommend you all do this right now where you're sitting. With 2 fingers on the right hand, 2 fingers on the left hand, press into your belly button with enough pressure that you can feel an activation. And when I say activation, it could feel like a lot of different things. You could feel tenderness. You could feel a thumping underneath your belly button. That's called a therapeutic pulse. That's a sign of a restriction. You could feel a tenderness or a loss of breath. I want you to also feel under your fingertips and feel, what does that feel like? So that's the amount of pressure you're going to use the entire time. And then we're going to, once you press in, then you're going to just stay connected with that much pressure, but do a tiny circle, a teeny tiny circle. And it doesn't matter which way you go. You can go right to left or left to right. Teeny tiny circle. Then we're going to raise our pressure up and then go slightly to the right of the belly button. Press in again, make a teeny tiny circle, raise our pressure up, go slightly up from the belly button, press in, teeny tiny circle, raise our fingers out, then continue in that spiral-like motion that you see on the screen right there. Press in, teeny tiny circle. So those teeny tiny circles are a massage. All right. So it looks like this. Press in, massage, come out. 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 And then keep doing it until you go all the way around. You can make bigger and bigger circles. Go slow, take your time. And now I'm going to invite everyone to take a slow breath in. Slow breath out and bring all their awareness into their abdomen. Ask yourself, where can I let go? Where in my body can I let go right now? Keep doing that movement around in the spiral until you're all the way to the outer layers. So the only things that are really important that you do with this, if you're not getting it, you know, if this feels kind of complicated for you, the two things that matter are, one, you want to go from the right to the left as a spiral. And that's because the ascending colon goes up from the right, across the top of the body, and then down on the left. So you're following the kind of highway of your bowel movements, basically. So the spiral should go from the belly button out, right across down to the left, right across down to the left, making it bigger and bigger. As you're pressing in and then doing little tiny massages, you're going to note where those restrictions are. Do this every single day, from day to day, and notice how things shift and change. This alone is not only assessing where it's tight, but it's starting to kind of jumpstart and create motility in your bowels. And once that motility starts back up again, then all of the other things you're doing, like hydrating, movement, if you're taking supplementation or apple cider vinegar, the things you're doing for your abdomen, it will start to get in there because you're creating flow in the tissue. And if you're finding you have restrictions in there and you want to know how to release those, that's the work that I do in the pain relief clinic as an introduction. And then I teach some courses and one-on-one things that we can do with that as well. All right, that is my introduction to this work, creating flow in the body. I didn't get into the breath too much. But if you are able to take a slow breath in from the abdomen and a slow breath out from the abdomen as you do this, breath is life, breath is flow. So that's going to really improve your results here. Okay, any questions or anything before I hand it over?
I do have one.
Okay. Hi, Cecile. I see you. Go ahead.
I didn't get it. If you go right up to the left or right down to the left, they're two different directions.
Mm-hmm. So can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm
So
there,
you'll,
so I'm going actually a different direction.
beautiful. So take your fingertips and press into the belly button, massage, and then come out. And then you're going to go to the right. Press in, massage, come out. Then continue around. Do you see this spiral shape I'm making?
Yeah, but are you going to your right or to your left now?
You're going to your right. So I'm going to have you actually turn your fingers towards you and put your fingers in your abdomen. Beautiful. You don't even need to look at me now. So sink your fingers into your belly button. Now do a little massage. Does that feel tender?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's information. So back out of there and now go to your right. Just like a couple inches, maybe 1 inch. And now press in again. And massage. And how does that feel different? How does it feel the same? And then now you're going to start to work your way up, like an inch or so. Press in, massage, and just note, how does that feel different? How does it feel the same for me? There's a massive restriction there. That's about where the ascending colon comes up to the transverse colon, and there's a junction there, so I might have like some stuckness there. And then you're going to continue along the transverse colon, so along until you get to the left. Press in, massage, just compare how it felt to the last one, and then go down the left colon, down the descending colon. Press in, massage. And you're going to keep going around in like a spiral or a clock, and see if you can go around close to the belly button and then around farther out from the belly button. And I'm moving super fast. You're going to go a lot slower.
Nyle, we have a question.
Yes, and Janet put the link for the handout in there, yes?
Yes.
So some people are just visual learners. When I'm teaching on here, you're doing it with me, and that's a kinesthetic learning. So some people are visual learners. So you're going to want to print out that handout and try it on your own. I also recommend lying on your back and doing it so that you can press in a little better. Yeah, so adipose tissue, if you have a lot of adipose tissue or fat tissue in your belly, it just means that you want to sink in more. You definitely want to lay on your back. All right, so when you're laying on your back, it's going to disperse the adipose tissue out a little bit more. And you're going to sink into your belly button and then really just sink in and connect with it. The other thing you can do, okay, when you're lying flat, instead of going straight down, you can go into the side and get around the fat, okay? Does that make sense? Go into the side and get around the fat. Instead of trying to go through it, go under it and then press down in there. But lay on your back first and see if that makes a difference. You're welcome.
And I'll just remind everyone that I will send you the recording after the session. So now we're going to transfer everything to Nina. Thank you, Nyle.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Well, I should say hello to everyone. It's great to be here again to meditate together with this wonderful community. And it was wonderful to learn about the fascia information. I found that fascinating and plan to try that out. So thanks so much, Nyle. So we're going to move into a mindfulness meditation where I'll be inviting you to bring your attention to anchors of your breath in your body. And also within that meditation, we will actually practice self-compassion with all that's going on, so much stress and struggle. It will be a nice way to bring some release and compassion to yourself in relation to anything that you're worried about or struggling with. And then we'll close the meditation with gratitude. And after the meditation is over, I will give you some resources so you can practice meditation, after this class ends. So let's go ahead and get into a mindfulness posture. So you're basically sitting in a posture where you feel relaxed and alert. And if you like, you can lie down if that feels more supportive for you. And you can start by simply noticing the feeling of your feet against the floor, your legs and buttocks resting against the chair or the cushion. And perhaps sensing your back making contact with the surface it's resting upon. And allowing yourself to drop into that support. And you can feel grounded by sensing into the feet and the legs, feeling any sense of weight or heaviness in the legs. And you can soften your hands, perhaps having your hands resting on your lap. You can start to soften your hands. And then soften the belly. You can start to notice perhaps the feeling of your breath at the belly. You can even put your hands on your belly if you like, and just feel the movement of the breath as the belly rises and falls on each in and out breath. And you can relax the shoulders. You can take a deep breath in and bring the shoulders all the way up to the ears, and then breathe out and bring them down away from the ears, softening the shoulders. And softening and relaxing the jaw and the face. Relaxing the mouth. Softening the eyes and the eyelids. And softening the forehead, bringing a sense of ease to the entirety of the face. Just letting it be. Letting it go. And now sensing into your whole body, just getting a sense of your whole body sitting here breathing. Allowing yourself to just be as you are. Continuing to feel the whole body breathing moment to moment. And when your mind wanders off from the breath or from the body, just notice that. It's perfectly natural for the mind to start wandering off into thoughts or distractions. And when you notice that, that's a moment of mindfulness. It's a good thing. You can just note that silently as thinking, or wandering, and then bring your attention back to the breath, back to the body. Each time you notice your mind has wandered off. It's the essence of the practice, and bring in attitudes of kindness, acceptance, and openness, and curiosity to whatever is arising for you, moment to moment. And now bring your attention to hearing sounds. You can ask yourself, what am I hearing right now? Letting any sounds come into the foreground of your awareness. Hearing sounds moment to moment. Perhaps you're hearing a fan blowing, or noises outside the room or inside the room. Perhaps you're hearing sounds coming from your own body. Noticing sounds moment to moment as you're breathing. Letting go now of focusing on sounds. We'll move into our self-compassion practice. So you can think about a situation that's bothering you or worrying you. Or perhaps it's something that just happened or something in general you've been worrying about or coming up. Not anything too overwhelming or overpowering. Just calling it to your mind's eye. And bringing the situation to life in your mind's eye, noticing the thoughts around it, towards it, the feelings about it. Naming what it is that's been bothering you or worrying you. What am I worrying about? What's on my mind? See what comes, see what arises. And then we'll move into the first step of self-compassion, is saying to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. This is hard to think about. This is hard for me. So acknowledging that this is difficult. This is already here in my life. So bringing that acceptance to it, and even if it's something you wish is not happening, it is happening, it's here. So just bringing that acknowledgement that this is hard. And then step 2 of this self-compassion practice is getting in touch with suffering is part of our common humanity. Everybody is struggling with something right now, and that's what makes me human and connects me to humanity. And everybody is going through something hard. Maybe their degree of suffering is different, has a different flavor, or it's similar. We're all struggling with something. So feeling that bond to humanity, that we're not alone in this. It's not abnormal to have these feelings. And suffering is a part of being human. So just noticing what your body feels like as you're resting in this awareness of our common humanity. And then the third part of this self-compassion practice is to actively self-soothe. So bringing in statements of kindness towards yourself, as you would talk to a dear friend or loved one who was struggling with something. Things like, I'm so sorry this is hard. Care about you. Things will be okay. May I be kind to myself, may I accept myself as I am. You can even cross your arms and rub your hands from your shoulders down your elbows, up and down the upper arms. Can really feel soothing. Yeah, be kind to myself. This is hard. I accept myself as I am, as I'm going through this. And so just continuing to offer yourself soothing statements, perhaps continuing to rub your arms along the upper arms, or rub your hands rather, up and down. And then check in with your body. Notice if you're feeling a little bit more ease or a sense of calm, and allow yourself to take that in. Bringing kindness and compassion to anything else that still feels hard. It's here. You can put your hands on your heart center. Just allowing yourself to feel as you are, whatever it is. Repeating the statements of soothing and kindness to yourself. You can now turn to that mindfulness posture once again, perhaps sitting in a more upright manner, feeling more alert by adjusting your position. Put your hands back down on your lap. And feeling into your breath and your body, and now call to mind something good in your life, something you're feeling really good about, something you're feeling grateful for. It can be a person or a thing. Calling it to your mind's eye as vividly as you can. Expressing gratitude, appreciation for this good thing, this person in your life. And maybe even expanding that awareness to all the good things in your life. Expressing that gratitude, that sense of appreciation. There are things going well. And there are some things not going well, there are things going well, and to pay attention to that in this kind and grateful way. And taking any feelings of positivity arising, taking in the feelings of gratitude into the body. Allowing yourself to fully connect with any feelings of positivity and gratitude. As you're breathing, sitting here moment to moment. And then whenever you're ready, you can gently bring the meditation to a close. You can take a deep breath in. Deep breath out, gently open the eyes and come back into the room. Welcome back. So if you'd like to continue further with your mindfulness practice, the more we practice our mindfulness, the greater this inherent quality of mindfulness develops in our mind. And it's very a healthy, beneficial mind state. It's relaxing to the nervous system. And so you can use an app like Insight Timer is one of my favorites, or 10% Happier, or you can join my Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction class, also known as MBSR, that I'm offering through GWCIM. And it's an intensive training in mindfulness. It's an 8-week program. So if you'd like to take that deeper dive and really strengthen that quality of mindfulness, that quality, to rewire, in a sense, your nervous system so you're not so reactive to stress and you have a much more easeful relationship with it, you can sign up for that course. So there'll be a link to that. So thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Nina. I just want to add, I put the link in the chat to the class. And if anybody wants, maybe Nina can put the link to you, put your email there so people can email you. And we are hopeful to get a good amount of people reimbursed for this class because it goes under group psychotherapy with the particular codes under my medical supervision. Unfortunately, we don't think Medicare and Medicaid will reimburse for this, but if you have a private insurance, or if you know someone who have private insurance and you think that they may benefit from this class, you can direct them to us, to both Nina and I. So survive the snow, everybody. Hopefully we won't get too snowed in, but if we do, it is what it is. Let go of expectations and work on our internal and mind-body restrictions at every level. Nyle, Nina, NN, as we should call you. It's so great to always have you guys here, and everybody stay safe. So we'll see you next Friday. Janet, do we have who's doing next Friday?
Next Friday will be Lee Frame, talking about nutrition, gut health matters, and Josh Schwartz, who was with us last year and did nature therapy.
Outstanding. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.